there are these intangibles. You either want it and you're going to go get it, or you're not, right? Now, you're not
And
going to make me cry on camera, are you, Jacob?
that's the plan, though.
But if I think about what decisions I'm making from a career perspective, I'm absolutely going to think about my family first, because they're the most. I'll tell you this, two of the people that I've mentored that have gotten certified first and gotten an opportunity through my mentorship program, neither one of them have an IT background.
Thank you so much for joining. This is a presentation of primarily you and the insights that you hopefully are willing to share with the next generation of ServiceNow professionals, as well as your younger self just entering the IT domain or industry. First of all, I would just like to introduce you a bit, as I know you through your online persona. This is the first time we actually talk, and I appreciate it very much. So just from reading a bit about you, what I know is that you're a certified master architect. I would say that's the least in a sense, because you have some pretty good feats as well that I do find valuable. So you've been around ServiceNow for quite a while, since the Aspen release, and so you have a long-standing expertise and dedication for ServiceNow. You are a humanitarian and a family man. A humanitarian, you have been working on this project with Ukraine since the war happening there, trying to assist as much as possible there. Something that really resonates with me, because I've essentially done the same. I've worked for an NGO called Aid Ukraine Denmark, where I worked as an IT lead building that up. So seeing that you were doing some of the same things, it kind of, kindred spirits. I really like that. And family man, I've also noticed, just when reading through some of your stuff, family seems very important to you.
Absolutely. Yes, number one. Yeah.
And then I have mentor and a leader as well. And I have kind and humble written down here. And I have some different elements and also some surprises for you, because you read my draft article, which is kind of what we also introducing in a sense here, and also digging a bit deeper than the article itself. But there are also parts of the article I have not showed you yet, so I'm interested to
I like surprises.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I look forward to showing you a bit about that. But before this, could you maybe tell us a bit about what we need to know about your life to best understand you as a professional and a person?
Sure, Jacob. That's a lot of wonderful adjectives that you use to describe me. I appreciate that. When you're living your everyday life, it's really hard to think about all the positive things. One, you never want to feel arrogant, right? You always want to be humble, take everything with humility as much as you can. But also in this crazy world that we live in, it's really easy to not see those things about yourself. So it's nice to hear someone as awesome as you
Oh, thank
even
you.
give those accolades. So I appreciate that. I do love my family. Every decision I've made professionally has been filtered through the lens of how is it going to impact my family. I could go through every career, promotion or not taking a promotion that I've ever done. Might bore your audience, but I will say that I have, in short, over the past, well, 18 years of my professional career, 13 of that has been in the ServiceNow ecosystem. Um, every yes I've ever said yes to, every no I've ever said, or no thanks, but maybe later, has all been, where am I at in my family life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I rewind 13 years ago, my oldest child is 12 years old. Um, when she came into this world, light of my life. And when I got married back in 2006 to my beautiful bride, um, she told me, she said, "Hey, I'm probably going to want to stay at home with the kids when we start having kids." And I was like, "Okay, cool. We're really going to have to be blessed with plenty of money to be able to support how many ever children that we're allowed to have, that we're blessed to have." And so at the time, we were both making money professionally. I was in IT. She was in editing. She edited Bible studies and things for the company that we actually both worked for the same company. She went on to get her master's degree, very educated, very smart woman. But then 12 years ago, my daughter was born. And but if you rewind a year before that,
Yeah.
the first yes, the defining yes of all my yeses in my career, yes, I'll do that. Sure, I'll take on that challenge. Sure, that'd be great. I'd love to do that job. 13 years ago, it was ServiceNow. It was actually, I think, the summer release of 2011. We went live on Aspen directly after that. But my boss came to me. His name's Jim Garrett, and he said, "Jeremy, you just a little preview of that, though, by the way, not to get too much in the weeds, but I had not too long before that decision to take on the ServiceNow as a project. um, I had had a heart to heart with my boss. I'm like, I really want to be an ace at something. I work with a lot of aces, but I'm kind of a utilitarian because I'll say yes to anything. I'll take on any project. And I said, but I really want to just have that. We've got this network guy who was spent 20 years in the military and he worked for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he was like our network guru. We've got our Linux guys, we've got our Windows admins, we've got our this. I said, but I do everything, right? I can rack and stack a server, I can touch some network stuff. And he kind of sat, he kind of almost like he didn't physically grab me by the, but he's like, listen, there are people who will heads down focus on one track, like that's their thing, right? And then there are people like you who will say yes to anything, right? If I came to you and said this, and he gave me examples, kind of like Jacob when you started off and you said, "Here's the things I've noticed by reading, what I posted and things like you put all those things together." He did the same thing for me. He goes, "Here's one thing I've noticed about you. I asked you if you would learn how to manage a web application firewall, and you didn't have network security background. You said yes, and you did it. I asked you to take on doing some information security stuff, and you said you wanted to get SANS certified and you wanted to get trained even deeper, and I let you do that, and you did it. I asked you to focus on change management in our organization. How can we make change? How can we make IT service management better? And this was before we bought ServiceNow. He
Mm.
said, you said yes, and you did it. And so, one thing I took away from that conversation, Jacob, before I said yes to ServiceNow was that saying yes is a pretty good thing to do for your career, um, even if it's something that's outside of your comfort zone, right? And so, I learned a lot by saying yes early on in my career. And then came the ServiceNow yes. The
Yeah,
same
yeah.
boss, Jim Garrett, comes to me and says, "Jeremy, I just went to a Gartner conference. There's this little startup called ServiceNow. They've got a cool product. I think it's going to help our organization. You've been working with a lot of our guys in the infrastructure team. You understand our service management approach." And again, all those yeses culminated to me understanding how the business worked, how our infrastructure and operations team worked.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
said, "Hey, this tool is going to help us and I need you to help us be better. So can you take your process oriented mind, use ServiceNow and make," I said, "Absolutely." So me and two other of my teammates, we got at it and started implementing ServiceNow and really changing the way the company that I worked for at the time did IT service management. And Jacob, it was at that time when I had touched many other applications. I had seen other, single point solutions that worked in the infrastructure and operations group, but I never saw anything quite like ServiceNow that did what it did and how to me how easy it was to grasp and take on, right? And so within 6 months, I would have considered myself a certified admin, maybe even a little bit on the app dev side because I had to, jump right into understanding Jelly at the time, some
Yeah.
JavaScript, things like that. So um, I started learning and learning more and more, but I would say within a year or two, I would have considered myself an expert of the platform at the time. Now, if you look at the platform today and you're fresh
Yeah.
and new, there are a lot more capabilities to understand. So I think the ramp up time's probably a little bit more, but just to understand the core of what the platform could do at the time,
Yeah.
6 months to a year was good. So, anyways, I kept saying yes to opportunities. Yes, more, learn more, take on more. And I moved out of the customer. I did a few customer
Mm-hmm.
implementations. I went into the partner space, spent some time in federal government implementations, had some awesome teams in the partner ecosystem. And then I got the call to come work for ServiceNow and work with our top customers, our top Fortune 500 customers on some of their most unique challenges, right? And so, from a career perspective, though, I have to go back to the family thing because I know you wanted me to include all of that. Is that my career decision 13 years ago? I told you my oldest daughter is 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
13 years ago, I was given an opportunity. I spent a year learning this platform that has then just continued to allow me to be able to have my wife now. She's been a stay-at-home mom since my daughter was in her first year of life. And so we're celebrating roughly 12 years of my wife being a professional at-home CEO. I call her the CEO of the household. That's what she does. She's far more intelligent than I am. She holds a higher degree than I do. Um, but she uses that drive, the her skill set of being a homemaker, and her genius um, educating our children. She homeschools my oldest daughter. My other two, we're we may do the same thing. So
Yeah.
truly blessing upon blessing because of the yes that I said 13 years ago to get into this ServiceNow ecosystem. And because of the impact that the product had on my life as an IT guy, I saw the impact it had. It didn't, so from 2012 to about 2016, I started to imagine like, well, really, this product is far bigger than IT. I was like, this is an enterprise. So back in 2016, I can remember pitching like this at a snug meeting here in Nashville. I was like, IT and HR do things very similar. They both work, issues or, in service. I mean, in IT, we call it incidents, but in the HR world, they might call it a case, right? Same thing, right? In
Mm-hmm.
the IT world, we need things, so we'll request things. Well, in HR, you might need to request extended family time off if you have a child, right? Very similar workflow, different nomenclature. So I started just dreaming outside of just the IT space and thinking. And so my thinking started to expand with the platform. And so I started investing in other areas of the platform in like our SecOps products, our HR products, our field service management products, digging into the CMDB more, understanding it and how it supports the entire ecosystem in ServiceNow. And so I just got immersed in everything enterprise service management, ServiceNow. And so, because of that, it enabled me to have deeper conversations on all of these customers, which then again kind of led up to where I'm at now. I've been at ServiceNow for 5 years now. I've held the same title, roughly. I've been an architect, a solution architect. The 5 years I've been on the same team. And that's really a testament into loving what I do, loving the customers that I work with, the unique challenges and use cases I get to work with, and really the awesome people like yourself, Jacob. I get to work with solution consultants across the globe. I had the
Yeah.
opportunity to go last year to the Netherlands. By the way, that was my first international trip ever, and it was amazing. I loved Amsterdam. I loved the culture. I loved the team that I worked with there, just lots of opportunities, right?
Mm.
And so in that whole, I guess in that whole thing, I would leave you with is I put my family first. I always said yes to new challenges that met where I was at in my career for my family. And there's been really just a really good work-life balance. I can say over the
Mm.
past 13 years of 12 years of being a father, um, in my career, um, I've been afforded the opportunity to um, just kind of cultivate a life of balance. Now, could I have taken on more? I've had leadership opportunities. I've had things that have been presented that I've even interviewed for. And really, the more I process those things, Jacob, I think, is that where I need to be at this stage of my life? I've got
Yeah.
kids in dance and baseball and ballet and all these things. And I want to make sure that I'm fresh for my job every day. I want to make sure I'm doing what I love. I love what I'm doing, that I can be the best that I can be in the job. Is that where I what I need for this stage of my career? And right now, where I'm at is perfect for where I'm at. Now, later in life, maybe I take wisdom and learnings, and maybe I'll be a good leader and from a title perspective, right? I could be a good leader, lead a team, take on new stresses. But where I'm at with my kids, ranging ages from 4 to 12, me
Yeah.
personally, this is where my career is at, right? So
That's a good leadership education in itself, right there. The
yeah.
kids, I can attest to that. So you gave me goosebumps several times here. I find it really inspiring. Listen to your kind of your origin story here in terms of IT. It seems you have a very good take on your values. You're able to measure what you're willing to do and not do. You're true to yourself, and you're able to kind of deflect the glamour of what could be and the titles and so on, and focus on what's important to you right now and the people around you. So that huge respect for that. I try to do the same. So very very powerful to hear. And also I noticed that you mentioned at the start you're kind of a generalist or utilitarian. You said
Mhm.
something like this, and it kind of bothered you, but then your ability to say yes to different kinds of things and the ability to kind of serve the needs as they arose over time was what gave you the options that you currently have today, where you have this blessed opportunity to actually support your family as you want to do. So, if I was to take something out of what you just said, it is to be it's good to have a plan, but it's also important to follow the flow because it will take you where you need to go. As you just need to respond to it and keep your values close to heart while doing it. That's what I get from listening to you.
Yeah, yeah, and I have to share the wisdom that drove me to making the decisions I've made is I've watched. I like to surround myself with people who are more successful than me, far more successful than me, because what I get to do is I get to look at their family dynamic. I get to look at, how much money they talk about, I can kind of see, the toys they have, the lifestyle they live, but I also look at their family. What do their kids think of them? So I look at the whole picture, right? And so when I've made career decisions or taken advantage of or not taken advantage of career opportunities, I've always looked at what did the people that were far more successful than me financially with their family, because I had some people that were have been far more successful than me financially, but if I look at their family, ooh, big,
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of regrets, lots of um, and I met with an older gentleman who said, Jeremy, I've spent the better part of my life. He was probably in his 70s at the time, worth probably a couple $100 million, if I'd had to say, US dollars. Um, he said, I've spent the first part of the majority of my life building this empire, this net worth, and now
Mm.
I'm spending the latter parts of my life figuring out how to disperse it without being taxed an incredible amount. And so he's
Yeah.
still managing his money.
Mm.
And I thought to myself, so for me, the lesson was it's not all about money. And titles tend to just get in people's heads, and it makes them, just far more self-absorbed than they need to be. And so it's never been about a title, or shouldn't be. I mean, I know it's easy for us all to get caught up in that. But when I look at those people around me, I like to try to take as much of the best that I see in everyone and try to shape what could my career look like in comparison to what other people are doing, right? Because Jacob, we could go start our own companies, we could go chase the
Mm.
dreams, we could go do the things, and nothing against people that have done that, but for me, I try to take wisdom from these folks, whether it's good or bad, and then build a story that I want, right? Maybe there's a time in my life where I want to step out on a limb and take the risk and start a business and take on the challenges. And well, maybe that means less family time, but we're going to work through it, right? If I make that decision, that's on me and my family. We'll do that together. And I hope everybody takes that approach. But anyways, the point is, I've listened to that conventional wisdom that come from these people that say, and here's the ultimate thing. This is the one thing that I've taken with me, and I posted about this on LinkedIn, and I just, if anybody takes away anything, is that your job, your career is going to provide for your family. It's going to open up other opportunities for you in life that you never would have had, right? You have to have, that's kind of the culture we live in. We have to work, we have to make money. It doesn't just grow, right? You have to earn it. So, but outside of that, um, when you die, when you leave this earth, when you move on, companies will continue to move on, right? Their
Mm.
headlines, they'll continue to make news, they'll continue to do things, and you'll be just kind of a distant, maybe memory of somebody. Oh, that Jeremy guy. Oh, who was that? Right. Your family, however, they're the ones that are going to remember every little thing. Every ball game you made or missed, every dance recital you made or missed, whether you were good or bad, they are going to mourn you and miss you and have vivid memories of you far more than at work. And so for me, while that doesn't mean that I just don't care about work. That's furthest from the truth. But again, there's just there's a balance there, because
Yeah, yeah.
you want to have a good career because you want to provide for your family in the best way that you can, right? But again, it's just a balance. But who always wins, the majority shareholder in my decisions from a career perspective, is my wife and my children, my
Yeah.
family. So,
That's what I find with ServiceNow as well, is that career and family, they can coexist. One doesn't need to, it's not an entirely zero-sum game there. You don't need to work 80 hours to be successful at ServiceNow, for example. Um, Very
yeah.
interesting perspectives you have here, and also that you kind of reference or baseline success based on how you perceive your successful peers, if they are actually happy that you have this yardstick that you value them upon, or you try to understand the value that they have derived from the choices they've made before taking your own. That's a good piece of wisdom if I ever heard one. And I can only imagine that currently you have surrounded yourself with a couple of people also in your organization that you would consider to have some good values.
Hmm.
Um, Otherwise, I don't think you would have stayed for 5 years, as you mentioned.
Hmm.
And to that effect, I think I would like to share my a little surprise with you, is that I actually reached out to some of your colleagues just to hear a bit about kind of the person that is Jeremy.
Now, you're
And
not gonna make me cry on camera, are you, Jacob?
that's the plan, though.
Oh, I wasn't prepared for that.
so so I reached out to let's see if you can guess who, but I'll just read here. I have had the honor and privilege of working alongside Jeremy for the last 3 years, and I am extremely thankful for that our journeys have crossed. Jeremy is what I call a fire starter. He's ready to jump into and tackle any challenge with a flair of positivity and curiosity. While we all know Jeremy for his ServiceNow swag and glowing Now shoes, Jeremy can also be that quiet and persuasive force that listens and allows the group to cultivate its own connection. He is then ready to support the group as they divert and converge around a topic. He allows all perspectives to shine through and then thoughtfully applies his experience and knowledge to keep the group moving forward. There are so many ways that I appreciate Jeremy for being an amazing team member, as well as just a kind and thoughtful human and friend. And this is from Lena
Yeah,
Ferguson.
Lena, I would have absolutely. I knew there were some keywords there. Fire starter. She's such a supportive leader, and the most encouraging leader that I've ever had the opportunity and pleasure working with and for. Um, so thank you for sharing that. But yeah, I knew who that was for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you can help me with the next three ones. They're quite short in comparison because she did
Okay.
drop like a river of different quotes about you, and I've included maybe a bit under half of them in the final article.
Okay.
I also reached out to another friend of yours, by the way, but
Okay.
we'll get to that. So I don't have the names, but one is caring appears to be Jeremy's superpower. I like that one. And I genuinely like and respect Jeremy and appreciate discussions with him as a team member and friend. And finally, huge respect for knowledge, passion, and work ethic. He puts so much of himself into the work. So even though that you uh, take all of your decisions through your what makes sense for your family, it shines through that you're not leaving anything at the gate when you go to work as well. You really put everything in there, and that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to make this a bit more special, because just when kind of seeing the stuff that's put out and the vibe around you, it was clear that something special here about Jeremy. So I wanted to take a moment just to appreciate that around you, because I could see that a lot of people appreciated you.
Thank you. Um, I hope that everyone experiences that feeling of appreciation because sometimes, I've been hearing a lot about imposter syndrome, about, putting names to just general feelings that we all have, which is, do we add up? Are we good enough? And, um, I think we all struggle with that, right? We all have an element of, are we doing good enough? Are we keeping up? And there are some days where we don't, right? We try,
Mhm.
but things get in the way, whether it's a sick family member or members. I mean, I know when multiple of my kids are sick, sometimes I'm just absent, right? It's hard to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
be mentally there every time. But like you said, Jacob, we have here at ServiceNow, there's no surprise that we make Glassdoor's top, places to work every year, Fortune 500 top places to work. Um, the recognition is well deserved because we do foster an environment of caring, um, being supportive. The thing is, when as a team, if you have any, and I think it's what makes it so great working here, and in particularly with my team, is that we embrace that flexibility. If you start to have the feeling of in being inflexible, like with your schedule, with your work styles, having models to be able to be flexible and work being creative, um, if you start to lose that, trust me, I've had plenty of jobs in the past where it's very, you got to, there's no flexibility.
Mm.
There's no, if you have a cool idea, keep it to yourself because we drive all the ideas, just work, you're a cog in the wheel. Um, but I think you got to have that flexible, free model. There are some fixed things that always have to be there, or else we couldn't
Mm.
survive as a business. But I can't agree with you more about how ServiceNow really allows for the opportunity for teams to be able to operate in that free model, which is a testament to why I've been here on this very team for 5 years and
Yeah.
particularly love my East workflow design studio team. They're so great. We all share similar values, work ethic, family values, and it's just great. It's great having the crew that we have, and thank you for sharing those kind words. It means a lot to me. It definitely helps in those moments where I can think to myself, "Ah, am I doing good enough?" And I
Yeah,
only
yeah.
I only hope that I can pay that forward by letting other people know how they've impacted me. So it's really good to hear those words. So thank you.
You're most welcome, and the real thanks goes to your team members as well. And your Lina, she was very excited to share quotes for this year,
Yeah.
and she postponed her own deadline because, as you mentioned, she wanted it to be perfect in
Yeah.
caps. So
Well,
she really wanted to do this right.
that
Um,
sounds about like her. That's yeah.
yeah, okay, that's good to hear. And and interesting what you just said about imposter syndrome here, especially when we consider that ServiceNow is such a growing area. So prior to this, you also said that took like a year and you became kind of an expert in ServiceNow. I don't think you can really be an expert in ServiceNow right now. You could be an expert in a subset of ServiceNow and have a general idea about what ServiceNow is and how it operates about now, because it's so much is happening. So it's easy for anyone in this space to get this sort of uh, imposter syndrome. Also, with the ServiceNow cap on coming out to customers, for example, even us, at least for me, sometimes you get this feeling that yeah, this person thinks that I know everything because I'm working for ServiceNow now, and that's just not the case, and it will never be the case. So that's where the humility of being able to say, yeah, I will figure this out. The key resource is that I have resources behind me. It's not me that's the hero here. But about the imposter syndrome there and the next generation coming in.
Mhm.
How I know that you're doing some mentoring. I'm trying to kind of angle it over there right now
Okay. Okay.
with varying degrees of success. But um, I know you've been doing some mentoring here. Is this something you address? Is something you see in the next generation? This sense of imposter syndrome. I know, for example, with the Rise Up and Next Gen, there is also like this reallocation into the IT industry from veterans and other areas of work. So long question there, but is that something you see?
Very much so. I've shared with our leadership in the Rise Up program on multiple occasions some of the things that I'm seeing in the ecosystem. When we were given the opportunity to hand out our golden tickets, as employees, we got five. General public, I think they got one, but um, we were given the opportunity to share those, and I could not wait to share. One of the things that I looked for, and all five of mine have been handed out. I would love to have a refresh. So if anybody out there is listening, I could give out five more tomorrow. But I look for these, and I learned this from the mayor of ServiceNow, Michael Lombardo. I was talking to him about
Cool guy.
some of the things that he looks for, and one of the things I'll never forget. He talked about looking at the intangibles, the things. Listen, we could take folks that have an IT career, maybe they were IT in the military or went to school for IT, and we could throw them into ServiceNow. They're going to see value. They're going to jump in there and do well, right? I don't have to I don't have to support that group as much, right? I find that they either generally want to jump into ServiceNow and do it. I'll tell you this. Two of the people that I've mentored that have gotten certified first and gotten an opportunity through my mentorship program, neither one of them have an IT background. One of them was a Marine and a retired California patrolman, and the other one is she's got her own business and she's really kind of a does everything, right? She has her hands in everything, but IT has not been her strength. But a couple people that I've helped in the IT space, they're kind of comfortable, right?
Yeah.
They're making decent money. For them, it's a jump. For people, what I
Mm.
find is people who are most excited see the opportunity to have some more financial freedom than they have in the career that they're at now. Because tech, let's face it, tech, you're going to make a little bit more money than you would in a non-tech career. So naturally, that group is more excited. But I'll tell you this, Jacob. Yes, ServiceNow has grown. There are thousands of capabilities that you can read about. You can read white papers on encryption, on and that covers all kinds of different field level. You've got end to end, you've got database. There's so many different levels. You could get lost in so many different, and I'm wearing the banner for it right now. Now Assist, generative AI capabilities. That landscape changes every minute. I mean, there are new changes happening all the time. So you can always get lost in that. But what I find is that when people see a new opportunity for a new career, they it's easy to get lost in all that, but you can still simplify it. My point is that in our platform, it's pretty straightforward. You have a product that gives you the ability end to end to create an application, both front end, middle, and back end, create an application that would work end to end without really having to know. You don't have to be a middleware expert and know Linux and Unix and all that. So you don't have to know SQL database queries. You don't have to be a database expert. You really don't even have to be on the front end side. Yeah, if you want to build pretty interfaces, yeah, you might need to know HTML and CSS. You might, and to be able to do some of the Ajax calls and passing data back and forth to some script includes. You might have to know JavaScript. You got to know that stuff, right? But with AI, I mean, it's empowering developers more and more, and even non-developers every day. So here's what I'm getting at. I would encourage anyone who wants to get into ServiceNow and into the space to not be intimidated by technology. If anything, I would be encouraged by the fact that our platform simplifies things to the point where a non-developer can actually come in, build a full stack application, front and back, mobile, branded, the whole nine yards. You can build all those things without having a deep technical background. Okay.
Yeah.
Two, connect with someone who's going to help you navigate through the complexities of where to look for work and what type of work to look for, because there are all kinds of opportunities in the ServiceNow ecosystem. You have sales opportunities, right? Both pre-sales and post-sales. You have implementation opportunities, which could be you could be a business process consultant and only focus on the business side,
Mhm.
the requirement side of things.
Mhm.
You can be an engagement manager. Maybe you're a PM. Maybe you're detail oriented and you just need to help make sure projects go off without a hitch. Listen, I've talked to people that have experience in so many different areas, but Jacob, there's this back to what Michael said, Lombardo, there are these intangibles. You either want it and you're going to go get it or you're not, right? We've had plenty of people pass through the Rise Up program that
Yeah.
are just like, I've wasted all this time and I've seen it firsthand, right? The text messages and the chats and like, well, I've wasted all this time and this is a joke. I'm not making six figures like they said I was going to make. I've invested 6 months of my life in this and I got my certification and or even people that didn't get their certification, they're like, I don't have a job yet. They're not helping me. And I'm like, listen, you either want it and you stick in or you don't,
Yeah.
right? Nothing's going to be handed to you. So for all those who are interested who want to make a difference in the technology space, particularly in the ServiceNow ecosystem, keep your head up. Give yourself at least 6 months to a year to latch on just to the core, the basic platform capabilities. Understand that it's not too far out there technically that you can't get your hands on it, and find someone who will spend time with you and mentor you. I'll tell you this last thing about that is the gentleman who, the veteran who I helped, who is now working for GlideFast. So proud of him. And I get text messages at least once a week about just these amazing opportunities and that he's taken on. And you know what? The intangible that I saw in him before he even uttered the word service now, I knew that if he ever acted interested, he's the kind of guy that's going to make it in this world because he's a go-getter. He's going to learn everything he can. And so he got certified. We went through many job opportunities. He interviewed in many different places and failed in some areas, like meaning failed to get the job. He didn't fail, but the job opportunity just, but then, they opened up the doors and he interviewed, and GlideFast gave him the opportunity. And I would venture to say they're probably pretty happy with that decision. He's doing really well for them. I'm proud of him. But when
A
we
couple of
sat,
them.
yeah, well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, when we sat together, Jacob, I was able to, on this very whiteboard right here, I said, tell me about a challenge that you faced in the military. What was your job? And he explained his job. It was like kind of like asset management, but with like military stuff. And he said, yeah, I would get a sticky note to pull this out of the armory and give it to so and so. And then I'd do this and I'd write a note back. The very manual, right? Didn't surprise me at all. And I said, did you know that with your certification that you're working on, you could build an application for the military that would fix that problem? And his eyes were like, what? Right? Like you
Yeah.
can do this, right? And so I just laid out, right? ServiceNow, it's simple, right? We've got tables, we've got forms, we've got workflow, and we've got integrations just at a high level that you can just go make magic happen with. So we took that use case, we cracked open his demo instance's PDI, and we worked through the fundamentals of building the application to fix the problem that he had. And Jacob, that's like those moments are so fun when people realize that this technology a capability of understanding and that they can put their hands on it and actually build it. Like to me, it's just awesome seeing people that can actually do
Eureka.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 One of our
Uh,
instance or one of our
yeah.
releases was Eureka.
Yeah, that's true. And I really like the thing about intangibles there
Hmm.
from Michael that you pull out. I think another good example of a person that really embodies this, who I'm also looking forward to doing an article on, is Kali Alexander
Yep.
also
Hmm.
from GlideFast.
Yeah.
She's a person. She didn't sit back and wait for an opportunity. She
Nope.
made that opportunity happen. So
Hmm.
if anyone is interested in seeing how you can do it, I always suggest watch her. Look at what she did. The 100 Days of Service Now, which still is going now under GlideFast banners. But that was an amazing feat, the momentum she garnered so fast. And on the topic of your mentee, I think now's maybe a good time to tell you that's also a person that I have tracked down and reached out to. So there's a
Hmm.
small note from him as well. I asked him what your mentorship had, what kind of impact it had on his
Hmm.
transition into ServiceNow. And what he has to say is that Jeremy's unwavering support and guidance were pivotal in my journey through the ServiceNow Next Gen program. His belief in my potential and dedication to my success made all the difference and were instrumental in helping me secure the job that I have today. And that's from Chris. Yeah. So I think it's important. I try to keep this in mind for all people to just pause sometimes and appreciate people. And clearly, a lot of people appreciate you here. So I think
Thank you, Jacob.
that's worth pointing out. On a less emotive note, I'm very interested in one specific area as well. When I kind of mentor new people or try to make them understand what is ServiceNow,
Hmm.
what's the whole deal with ServiceNow,
Hmm.
I try to rewind the time and consider what would I have told myself if I started again. And that's what I've started telling the new starters. And
Hmm.
so I'll just share my perspective. Then I would love to hear what your take is as well.
Yeah.
But if I could go back, I would tell myself, hey, Jacob, before you waste time implementing all of these incident and change and problem, whatnot, these different applications, try to consider why is it called service now? This whole service perspective, I would narrow down on and understand the common service data model, which I really like as the common bridge across. Doesn't matter if it's in HR or if it's in IT or wherever it is, it builds into the same service layer and business enterprise capabilities, and they are supported by the same infrastructure underneath in some degree or another. And
Hmm.
just knowing how everything is meshed together with the sole purpose of delivering a service at the end. I think that's powerful. And then what I try to do sometimes is I make it as tangible as possible, because IT can be intangible, especially if it's new to you. So I pull out a bakery example. I also did an article series of this where I tried to explain uh, the common service data model through Charles the baker, who wants to build. He faces some problems with his bakery. So
Hmm.
so that's essentially what I'm my approach. I would say yes, you need certification and so on, but I would also say understand the core concept of what is a service and what is does it mean in ServiceNow. What is the spine here? And we have 5 minutes left. So what is your take on this? Time flies.
Yeah, it does, especially when you're talking to me because I seem to take up a lot of airspace. But
But that's the point,
um,
so it's fine.
yeah, Jacob, I mean, you described kind of what I did with Chris in that the bakery example is just a real world example. Here's the deal. Enterprise service management, it's done. To me, it check done, right? We solve for, I mean, I've heard different numbers. My take on is that at least 80% of enterprise challenges with off the shelf applications. So if you need to go do IT service management, incident change problem, a good knowledge and a knowledge process, which by the way is enterprise, it's not just IT. Although I see a lot of things start in the IT space. E- Enterprise service management, it's done, right? One thing I love about my job, what is so encouraging about what I get to do with our top Fortune 500 companies is to go in and tackle those challenges that people don't think about an enterprise tool like ServiceNow being able to solve for, right? I would love to see us as an organization, as a company, focus more on the mom and pop shop. I've been saying that for at least a decade, is that we do focus on enterprise and big government and all that. That's great. But I think the bakeries, the mom and pop shops, they need it more than anybody, right? They need it. Now they do have smaller solutions that they can go pay a lot less money for and take care of little portions of their business. But mom and pop shops like a mom and pop bakery, they have HR needs, they have IT needs, they have all these. So there's a certain size in which we can help people. But anyways, to go back, I digress, because we could talk for days about that. Um, is that if you're if you're thinking about ServiceNow and how to wrap your brain around the technology and you haven't lived that enterprise service management life, just think about the simple things that you do that you've done in your past life. Again, with Chris, I said, what did you do in the military that was one of the most annoying processes that you had? Well, he stepped right into an asset management use case, right? Asset management from the enterprise perspective could be IT asset management. It could be facilities asset management. It could be you name it, right? It's asset management. For him, it happened to be military supplies. We work with the nursing, we work with healthcare, we work with banking, we work with manufacturing, we work with military, like federal government, globally. The deal is there's not a use case in the 13 years that I've worked on this platform that has been brought before me that I've said ServiceNow just can't do it. There have been plenty of opportunities where I've said, probably not a great use case for ServiceNow. Probably good to pair ServiceNow with this and integrate, which with our integration, like we connect those worlds together. Another beauty of our platform. So I like to get folks in the mindset of solving real world problems and how they would use ServiceNow to do it. And I'll end that example on the other mentor or mentee of mine. I mentioned she does not have a technology background, but she cleans, right? Homes, businesses. Um, and I said, how would you use ServiceNow? Because she had been through kind of like part of her admin training. And I just wanted to test her knowledge. It's like, what would you use something like ServiceNow for? She said what she described was how Squarespace or Wix.com benefits businesses, like a homepage, right? Oh, it would give me a good landing page. I said, well, what you just described is already solved for by Squarespace and Wix. But here's what Squarespace and Wix doesn't do well that you would need to do behind the scenes. And that's all the back of the house stuff, right? They got the front end really well. And they even do some of the back of the house, but it's not all inclusive. It's not the world is your oyster. You kind of pick and choose, right? So I said, what if I could tell you that you have at your fingertips in your PD in your personal developer instance the ability to build out an application that would support your cleaning business and all the hiring and firing that you would have to do, keeping up with how your technicians are performing at every house that they clean. I said, but here's the thing, you're never going to think that because you might clean 10 homes and 10 businesses. But what if you got a call from Hilton Hotels and they said, Sarah, I see what you're doing there. You guys get the best reviews in town, and I want to hire you to clean 300 hotels, right? This is all hypothetical, but what if they called you and said, I need you to do that? Well, guess what? If you don't have the systems in place to hire, to onboard people, train them, get them the help that they need, get them the assets that they need. Maybe you need to purchase vehicles. Maybe you need cleaning devices or supplies, keeping inventory. There's so many things that the platform could help you do that you could build right here, right now. And you don't have to have years of expertise and development, middleware and database and all that. It's all right here. And by the time you get done with this 6 months education program, you get through your certification, you will possess the knowledge to be able to do that. Again, I don't know if that doesn't light your fire, your wood's wet. Like and that's what 13 years ago, Jacob, just going back, that's the reason why I love what I do is because I believe in the product that we sell, that it can change people's lives, not only their careers, but the jobs that they do. It changes that as well. And I've never seen so much positivity come from a product in my life. I mean, Apple may be a close second because everybody loves their Apple products and what it does. And there's one thing I want to hit on real quick, Jacob. You said earlier, you said focusing on the why. ServiceNow's addressed the how, the what, like what you can use to solve your problems, how you go about doing it. We've got a whole slew of, we've got SN gurus out there. Those guys, they'll all tell you how to do it. But the why is the most important thing. And as you're working with either people who are new to the platform and trying to learn about what the platform does, get to the why. Like why would you even use ServiceNow? That's important. Like that's going to solve for why they want to be involved. The other thing is when you're working with customers, like when you're working with, like I do on a daily basis, when you go look at their challenges inside their enterprise, you start digging into the why are we where we're at today? Why are we a company? I'll give you an example. One of the jobs I worked for a retail organization, I won't say who they were. Um, but I worked for a retail organization and their CIO sat in front of the entire IT department and said, we have 210 applications that we manage in this organization. We are not a tech company. We are a retail company, but we manage 210 applications. That needs to change. And guess what? I knew ServiceNow. I was like, oh, buddy, here we go. Because I could already name 10 point solutions that we could go in and just put onto the platform, right? I've just there's so much opportunity for everyone out there, whether you have a non-technical background, technical background. Our platform is ripe with opportunities and we still know what the next cool thing's going to be because everything hasn't been solved for. right? We're still solving for the world's problems. And I can't wait to see in 13 more years where we're going to be at as a platform.
It's
I
going
think
to be
it's going to be
crazy.
mind blowing.
Yeah,
But yeah. So
absolutely. I see we are on time about now. So I think it's a good time to try to wrap up here.
good.
We've been through a lot of different topics. If I were to maybe summarize some of them, it's about following the flow and saying yes to challenges, but keeping your family close at heart. It's about being kind and being humble, seeking help from others. Um, and it's about understanding the whys, as Simon Sinek also would have said. Why are we doing this? Why is ServiceNow the right choice? Stay hungry. The intangibles with Mike, as you mentioned as well. You have
Mhm.
to want it. You have to understand, and that comes back to understanding the why. Why is this cool? Why is this important? If you don't know that, then it's just, yeah, where's my six figures? Where's my salary? And
What is ServiceNow doing for me? Right. And
yeah,
that's just not an approach.
ask not what ServiceNow can do for you.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. So absolutely focus on what's important to you and why you're doing what you're doing. And if you happen to do so and so is now, the rest will follow. Is what I see.
Hmm.
Um, and pass on the help, pass on the wisdom, and grow with your with challenges that make sense for your context, and don't get caught up in any spotlight, and and value that over anything else. That's what I take away from this year. And with this, I would like to thank you very much, Jeremy, for taking the time to speak with me, and for giving me the opportunity to, and the people that will be watching and hopefully reading also as well, the opportunity to learn from you and your long and inspiring career. It's clear that you have a lot to offer, and your mentees are lucky people.
Well, thank you, Jacob. And I'm honored and blessed to be even have the wisdom to be able to share. And I hope it's helpful to some. It doesn't apply to everyone. We all bring unique perspectives to the table. And that's how we all, as individuals, as unique individuals, right, um, make the world a better place. And I appreciate you focusing on folks' careers and then letting people kind of discern what's best for them, right? Because not everybody chooses to have kids. So kids may never be a challenge, right? So there might be
Yeah,
a
yeah,
different
yeah.
path for them. And so whatever, right? Whatever their situation is, again, we're all unique. And so I just appreciate you taking the time. I have mad respect for you and all the things, the many ways that you improve our company. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jacob.
Oh, thank you very much, Jeremy. It does feel good. I'll tell you, it does feel good to get those words.
Okay.
So with that, I think I will look forward to speaking with you again in the future sometime, on
Yes, sir.
a happy occasion, maybe in Vegas or where not. And
Yeah,
until then, I
that'd be
will,
great.
let's keep in touch, and thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Hey, and let's keep up the fight for things like what we did for Welcome.us. I'm sorry, I meant to mention that earlier, but just a quick plug.
Do that.
We're continuing to work with them. They're partners. They've got some great ideas to help refugees that have come over, making life better for them once they've transitioned and made it over to the U.S. So lots of opportunities to help folks. Lots of humanitarian opportunities. If you haven't checked out, for folks that are watching, ServiceNow.org. Um, Lots of wonderful people that are near and dear to my heart, like Anna Barrett, who's over there just killing it, just really excited to help people. The fact that we're investing in that organization, nonprofits, and trying to um, help with all the humanitarian things that are going on. I'm just grateful. Couldn't be more grateful for our company and the folks that are working hard at that. So let's keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Strong points. I can only agree. Thank
Yeah.
you very much, Jeremy,
All
and
right, Jacob.
have an excellent day.
All right, you too, Jacob. Thank you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.